Travis is awesome to work with. He was a rock star when he was here at Kid Westfield. And I think that's one thing to just have top of mind right now is that there's builders who are offering so many solutions to your buyers. You need to have kind of a Rolodex or a list of those recommendations and solutions you can bring to the table for your clients. So highly recommend you chat with Travis, but also put on your calendar for the 26th of August. So this is next month. We're hosting the Real Estate Expo. How many of you guys have been to that before? Raise your hand. Okay, good chunk of you. So we're going to be very heavy on builders at this event. There's probably going to be about 25 to 30 different home builders there to show you what communities are coming online, what their inventory looks like, and also what their incentives are for your clients. So it matters more now than ever before that you are solution-oriented for your clients. And so highly recommend you put that on your calendar. It's going to be during team meetings. So it's going to be from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. On the 26th of August. It's a Tuesday. So today, to open this conversation, I really want to talk about how important it is to be aware of the seasons of life or the seasons of business. And Jim Rohn, he said it best. He says, you can't change the seasons, you can change yourself. Now, how many of you have watched the Keller Williams market update that was launched last week, where KW International talks about what's happening in the market as a nation and what things are to come? Anybody watch that yet? Okay. That's probably one to-do list item to put on your task list for today is go watch that video. It's on YouTube. It's 20 minutes long, but they break down the market stats and help us to understand what's likely to happen over the next 6 to 12 months. Now, those who are in More Club, our Masters of Real Estate, our private mastermind, last week, we talked about some of these things. Does anybody remember what they anticipated was going to happen with interest rates over the next year? Pretty much nothing, right? I know that all of us in this room hope that rates are going to come down substantially, right? But when they had the Fed chair meeting recently, they talked about how it's very likely we're only going to see about a 0.5% decrease on the Fed rate, which does not have a one-to-one correlation with the mortgage rates, okay? So they're saying likely it's probably a 0.2 to 0.3% difference by the end of the year and into middle of 2026. So what does that mean? Well, we've been in winter for a couple of years now, right, in the real estate industry. And likely that's going to continue to persist. And there's kind of one school of thinking is that the external forces impact the results that I get in my business. And that's one way to subscribe to thinking, right? Is that I am a product of the environment or the industry or the effect of the market that I'm in. And if interest rates are high, maybe my business is going to slow down. There's another way of thinking of saying, well, I can actually control what I can control. There's things that levers I can pull or adjust in my business to bulletproof it. And no matter what's happening in the market, I can get extraordinary results. And that's why I put this conversation together today. So excited to have Mike Gooch have us go through this today, just talking about what it looks like to really shore up your business. What are some of the strategies that you can focus on? Mike is one of the top 1.5% agents in the country, not the state, in the country. He was a little over 52 units closed last year for about $43 million in sold volume. Okay, phenomenal year. Over his career that he's been here in Utah, which he just started a couple years ago, he's sold over $144 million in real estate here in the state of Utah. And he partnered with KW 3 months ago, and it's been a great experience to see him make some changes in his business. And so I'm going to go ahead and have you give a warm welcome to Mike Gooch. Come on up. Thank you. Now, while we're getting settled, one thing I want you all to pay attention to is that it's very easy to say, well, I can't reproduce those same results, right? When we're having conversations with people who have done some phenomenal things. The one thing I want you to pay attention to is what your personal goals are. What are you wanting to achieve by the end of this year? And just try to pull out what are the 1, 2, or 3 max strategies that I know I can go deploy that will help me move my business forward in a meaningful way. Sound good? Okay, Mike, let's lock in. So tell me first just a little bit about your backstory. So how did you actually get into real estate?
Yeah, great question. Just first off, while I get into it, I definitely don't want you guys to think I'm like, I think I heard read something say I'm an icon or something ridiculous. I've gotten lucky with real estate, but I'm no different than you guys. You guys can surpass me on everything I've done. I just have implemented a few things and it's worked out, but nothing too crazy. So I appreciate the kind words on stuff, but uh, I'm excited for you guys and excited to share a little bit of my input and hopefully you guys can benefit from it. Um, but yeah, transitioned over here to Keller Williams largely because I want to gas up Shoney, but because of Shoney, I interviewed a lot of different brokers and I loved his forward thinking with AI, which I thought is definitely something that we just need to implement, whether we like it or not, learning the different things that AI can help us benefit. So that's one of the main things that I love that Shoney so forward facing on that. And yeah, just learning from him. So you guys are in great shape. I don't have any sweetheart deal with Keller Williams that incentivized me to come over.
We actually charge him more than everybody else.
Probably does, and I don't know about it, but as far as I'm aware, equal to you guys. So if, for whatever that's worth. But yeah, to your question about kind of my real estate career, I went to BYU, graduating construction management around 2017, and then went down to California, Los Angeles area, and was doing office leasing and sales down there. And I was with Cushman and Wakefield, which is basically the Keller Williams of commercial real estate in downtown LA. It's one of the most reputable brands down there. Snippet of advice that I highly recommend for you guys is how critical it is to have a mentor or a team leader, which Keller Williams is so exceptional at, is having those team leaders. Because I worked with the #1 office leasing broker in downtown Los Angeles, and it was just worth its weight in gold, where I was able to learn so much and just learn how to be a shark in that industry, which is so cutthroat on people coaching your clients and getting them to buy or release certain office space. I was just able to learn that they saw a process from him, which has helped me in my career here in Utah. So if you don't have a mentor yet or a team leader, highly recommend it and just really utilize their resources because they're so worth it. So 2017, 2020, it was awesome office leasing market in downtown LA. And then as we all know, it seems like it just was a few months ago, but COVID hit. It just absolutely annihilated the office leasing market. And so we kind of twiddled our thumbs for a year. My wife and I were in quarantine in LA, which is a lot more hardcore than it was here. Like, couldn't go on the beach. You couldn't, there were certain hours to when you could walk on trails outside. It was absolutely insane. But we realized that the office market would not recover from what it was, and we weren't making what we were hoping to make, even at the peak. So that's why we pivoted to come back up here in Utah, and it's been great since. Just hit the ground running and focusing mostly on residential, and then doing multifamily properties as well. I say is part of my niche.
Cool. Well, I want to dig into a little bit of behind the scenes. I think we've talked about a lot how your habits, your daily routine has a big impact on the energy level that you're able to bring to your business and the results that you're able to see. So just kind of walk us through what a day in the life of Mike Gooch looks like when you say, well, hey, you're handling, 52 transactions over the year. That's almost a closing a week. It's a lot of clients in the pipeline at any given time. So just what does your day-to-day look like?
Yeah, great question. So I'm more of a night owl, so I'll wake up usually around 8 o'clock and just go. I have a little ADU home office in our backyard where I go to work. I like having structure. I'm very kind of OCD and organized on certain things. So I go and sit in my office and then just kind of just let the floodgates open. And it's amazing where I like to start the day with nothing and accomplish all my tasks at the end of the night. But then so I just start in the morning and then just see what comes. And there's always just people reaching out for questions about an inspection or need to addendum or just moving forward on that. Yeah, I usually just field all the issues that come throughout the day. And I usually like to end my day around 12 to 2 o'clock in the night. I just like, for my clarity's sake, I just like to have everything done when I go to bed so I can just sleep somewhat soundly, knowing that everything's handled. So definitely sucks. I don't know if I recommend it. Like, is this the only way that I'm able to juggle everything I am, is staying up that late and handling it all? I still need to improve my process on how to do this. I can actually sleep at a decent time and whatnot, but it's usually my day. I wish I need to be more clear, but I guess my advice to you is just having a certain spot where you can just go and then just be purely focused and be driven on real estate. Kind of separates you from distractions. Or like the last brokerage I was at, it was incredible, but people kept on coming to talk to me when I was in my office that I had at that place, and it just drove me nuts because, like, bless their hearts, but be like marital issues or like just random stuff. I'm like, I do not have time for this. Like, I wouldn't tell them that. I give them the time of day, but I think just having a place where you can just focus purely on what you're doing is very key.
So two things I hear from that is, one, you've got to build a bunker, right? You've got to have somewhere where you can isolate yourself and have focused attention. And the other part of that is, which I think is so important, is like there's seasons of life in business, and sometimes like you're not always fully balanced, right? Where it's like sometimes you do have. How many of you have stayed up late till midnight or 1 a.m. working on something, right? And so sometimes like you also have to just know your personality, like or your like, are you a morning person or are you a night owl, right? And be able to work with the flow. It doesn't have to be this cookie cutter. You got to wake up at 3 a.m. You've got to work out until 5, and you've got to do all these things. It's like, be aware of yourself, who you are, and what is going to actually help you to achieve at the highest level. So I love that insight. Where does most of your time go right now? So if you're looking at your day, is it mainly lead generation? Is it actively pursuing and pushing deals, or are you mainly managing systems in the back end side of the business?
Yeah, good question. I'd say it just fielding things that come to my table. It'll just be so many random requests. Like, for example, speaking of billionaires, one of my clients is billionaire in California, and I helped him buy. He's the most frugal billionaire in the world. He's like Warren Buffett. The guy he could have any home he wants in Utah and just buy like a 2,000 square foot townhome. So you could walk to the BYU for board games. Like, he just wanted to be somewhat close to BYU. And he just called me. It's one of those things that when he calls, you always answer. And I picked up, and he's like, Gooch, my AC isn't working right now. Can you get some guy over there to fix it? It's a non-negotiable for me. Like, I literally do anything for this guy. And I think it has built, because of how I've treated him, he's in turn given me 4 clients that have pulled through and purchased properties. I'm helping one close on a property next month. So I say, it's like the narrow way to answer your question, it's going above and beyond for my clients when they reach out to me to just do things that are not really in my wheelhouse. Like, he bought the home 2 years ago. I shouldn't really be involved on the property management side of things, So I called these. So then on my way over to this meeting, I called the HVAC guy to come over at 2:00 today. And now my client's on cloud knowing about it. So my recommendation to you is just do stuff for free for your clients. Don't expect anything in return. Don't say, if I do this, tongue in cheek, like, please send me a referral. Just so cringe. Just like, do stuff just out of pureness of your heart. And I promise it'll pay dividends in the long run. And that's probably where I attribute the large majority of my success, is just doing a lot of free stuff for my clients who then feel indebted to me to help me out in the future.
So it's really about one thing that's, I think, is so vital is what kind of client experience can we curate, right, or deliver to where they think of you as the solution for whatever problems they're running into, right? That they have enough trust in saying, I know Mike is going to fix this for me, right? And I think part of it, though, is when you over deliver, it turns into opportunities on the back end, right? So maybe walk us through, what does your lead generation look like? And this, I know we've had conversations in the past, some approaches with social media, but maybe walk us through the balance of proactive lead generation and then also just repeat referral business. What does that dynamic look like in your business?
Yeah, love it. something that's helped me out exponentially has been my Instagram presence. I'm by no means trying to be page stack ring or who else is very TikTok famous or whatnot by posting trendy videos. I don't pay for ads on my videos to have them try to go viral. My whole approach is just to show my sphere of influence, my friends, that I'm actively engaged in real estate. So whether it be posting my new listings or clients that just helped get under contract on a home, or if you don't have that inventory, just create stuff. Like I'll post stuff on my story about a snippet from CNBC that I might talk about, or an interesting article about real estate that's focused for Utah. But you just want your friends in a nonchalant way to just think of you every time they think about real estate. You don't want them to think about their cousin or someone else. I get so many clients that have relatives that are in real estate, but they know that they just feel more competent because their relative or friend only does a deal or so a year. Maybe they don't even know how much they do. And it can all be fabricated too. You know, it's like you don't have to have a lot of work, but if you can just show you're actively doing it, then they can trust you. Shows that you're competent. So I really focus on Instagram. That's if there's one tool that I could keep, it would be my cell phone for calls and texts. And then the next tool would be Instagram. And it kind of go along with that to curate more leads is I make an active effort to constantly reach out to my friends and comment on their Instagram posts or like them. We all are just so, we just all want attention as humans. We're so obsessed with like getting recognized. Someone made such a funny comment where it's like, we get discouraged when we post something, like say you post a photo of ourselves and we only get 15 likes. But can you imagine in real life if someone came up to you, 15 people came up to you and said, "Hey, man, I love your hat. That's the best looking hat I've seen in months." You'd be ecstatic. You walking on air. So if you can give that to your friends, just genuine compliments about certain things, they go on trip to Hawaii. Man, that watch your love so much fun. I'm stoked that you guys were able to do that. Just shows that you care. And then if it's your, you know, for me, it's Gooch real estate. I'm always messaging on them. It gets in their head, Gooch real estate, Gooch is real estate, Gooch is real estate. So yeah, I think that is critical to figure in.
So Lane Thompson and I had a conversation late last year, and he talked about this book called The Speed of Trust. And there were two types of trust that is outlined in the book. And one of them is integrity trust, which is what most people have with their friends group, right? People believe that, you know, you're a likable person, you're a trustable person, and you can have the keys to my car. I trust you with it, right? But then in business, there's a different level of trust, which is competency trust, that they actually trust that you are a master of your craft and that if they choose to work with you, you're going to help them accomplish whatever goal they might have, right? So what I hear is you're really posting content that is building the competency trust. They see you in it on a day-to-day basis. So this credibility scale is consistently increased in them thinking Mike is a real estate professional and he's an expert in this market, right? So how do you translate that? Obviously, it sounds like you do direct messages, right? DMs as well. But walk us through maybe how also just in your business, you've ran into some roadblocks when it comes to scale. You have a lot on your plate. So what kind of roadblocks have you ran into as you've grown your business?
Yeah, so as I've grown and go along with what Shoney said, it's so brilliant. I love the phrase, confidence breeds competence. So if you're confident in what you're saying, that breeds your ability to be very competent when you're talking to your clients. And I go out of my way, like I just read most boring stuff and I hate it. CNBC articles and all this stuff on my Google feed, just so I am ready when the opportunity arises, when my client calls me out of the blue at 8:30 in the morning, like a crazy person. Me, that's so early. Calls me and says, you know, Gooch, what are interest rates out right now? I'm wanting to think about buying this property down where if I don't read articles or talk to mortgage brokers to get this boring information, I won't be competent when it comes time. And once you're reading all this boring stuff, you become confident. So when the opportunity does arise, you're ready to go. And I've been able to I have 3 Instagram accounts just so I can stay focused on what I'm doing. I have my personal one when I was in high school and college, when basically my resume to try to get married to like showcase what I thought was cool to a future spouse. I have my Gooch real estate one, and then I have another one where I follow like Barstool Sports and political stuff and everything else. Because I just want, when I'm working, it's Gooch real estate focused only. I don't want to see cars being driven off a cliff. I just want to be focused on my friends' trips in Hawaii and focus on them. But and because of that, on how I've been able to curate that business of being focused and trying to be confident, I have come across some supply constraints. I don't know if you guys have a transaction coordinator, but that has been the best hire I've ever made, is getting one. I don't think you have to have a crazy amount of workload either. Just having someone just to handle that mundane emails and texts so you can focus on other things. It's the best $400 or $350 that I've ever spent. So I highly recommend that. Other supply constraints. I just love to give such a Marriott hotel type of experience where I just feel like my clients are so well handled. I never want them to feel like I'm not responsive to their needs or going above and beyond for them. So that's the thing I'm trying to figure out as I get busier and busier, is how I can hand off some of these tasks to other assistants to do. Shoney helped me hire a virtual assistant that has helped me do a handful of things, which I'm grateful for him for recommending that. That's something else I've implemented. It's just the random things like fixing Excel documents and make them more organized, and reaching out to clients for simple things. So
How do you decide what things to, on the topic of delegation? So when you're building a team, and I think are you hiring a second VA
yeah,
right now or soon?
just hired one, yeah.
Awesome. So walk through maybe just the thought process on what do you decide to keep in your hands? You say, this is what I'm going to own versus these are the things I want to pass on to somebody else.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think the easy answer is just to say, okay, I'm just gonna hire an agent who's just gonna do all my tours for me, because that stuff is annoying. I hate driving out to Eagle Mountain. Like,
No offense to anybody who lives out there.
I love it. I have nothing against Eagle Mountain other than driving there at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
That's worth is terrible. But then you also have to remember, I always have to remind myself, like, okay, I'm overwhelmed right now, but I can't cut myself off at the feet on what got me to be there. And touring is what got me to be there, because I curate these incredible relationships with these clients that has allowed me to work with all their friends and families and repeat business with them. So I'm trying to be very particular on what I feed off to my other team members to do. So, for example, it's like on important meetings, like inspections, or before my client buys a home and you find the home, I am always doing that with them. But if it's one of those things where my client wants to tour a vacant home after they're under contract to see it 5 more times to measure for furniture and stuff like that, I'll have my protege go and just open the door for them and hang time in his car while they're finished. Like, that's not a good use of my time. And they realize it too. And the most mind-blowing experience or insight that I received too, Aaron Drussel, I think I'm saying his name right. He's a Better Homes and Garden, a broker there. Is so brilliant. He told me, he's like, Gooch, you have to learn to delegate, because if, for example, if you were to go to your dentist and your dentist is sitting at the reception desk and ushers you in and then hands you the toothbrush to brush your teeth before, then cleans your teeth, then does the drilling, and then calls you to set the appointment, and then does all the financing and carrying, you think, who is this guy? Why does he not have people doing the more mundane things? We go to our dentist for him to do the hardest task, and then he delegates the rest. So try to do that. That just really opened my eyes. Like, okay, I still need to be strongly involved in my client's life, but that doesn't mean I have to be emailing them every single paperwork and opening the door for them every single time if it's not necessary. So, because with that extra time, you could say, well, yeah, shoot, I only have, 2 or 3 clients I'm working with. But if that takes up all your time, it doesn't allow you to respond to people on Instagram or go golfing with a friend slash hopeful future client, where you can go to lunch with someone or join a committee where you can meet more people. You have to make sure we don't confuse busyness with being productive. I know I didn't create that slogan, but like I think it's so important that I have to continue to remind myself that like, well, I worked so many hours today, I was so productive. But if you actually take an inventory of what you did, you're like, not really, man. Like you kind of wasted a lot of time. So like something I've done, even though it's counterintuitive of what I said, but I realized I was wasting a lot of time in the evening going on my political fun Instagram page to kind of quote unquote give me breaks from my work life when I'm working at 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I realized I was spending 30 minutes to an hour throughout that time just doing stupid stuff on Instagram when I actually wasn't being productive. So I downloaded this app that restricts me from 9 p.m. till 8 a.m. the next morning, where I can't use any social media. And it just trains me just to be more focused during that time to actually make it use of my time and start just being sleep deprived. Yeah, there's a couple. This one's really cool because
I was just going to ask what your tech stack looks like. So that,
yeah, this
is a perfect addition.
This is a good one. It's cool because it's free too. They just ask for tips. So they can difference the Screen Zen, CEN, Screen Zen word. And so far, I've only had it for a few days, but it's been incredible for me just to keep myself focused. And it's funny how once you like train to not do it, sign, it's so much easier. Like I don't crave Instagram in the evening. I just see when I go to inherently go and click on Instagram to try to scroll through stuff, it just is faded out where I can't do it easily. I'm like, okay, yeah, I don't need it. Now I just go and then I'm reading some article on CNN or Fox that talks about the housing market that I can then learn the information on. So a lot better use of my time. So I recommend Screen Zen for Zen your lifestyle.
Great. Well, before we transition to the next piece, I want to talk about just the skill set of letting go of things, right? Meaning when you are in scale mode, you have to leverage. So you have to bring in tools, technology, people to support you.
Yeah.
And oftentimes that's also the hard part, right? Is saying, I'm going to let go of these things, right? Control is what oftentimes top producers crave. And so maybe just talk through what that has been like the last 3 to 4 months, right? As you have really been aiming towards getting more stuff off your plate, bringing on even a second VA at this point.
Yeah.
Like how has that mindset shifted for you, saying I need to let go of things so I have actually more production that I can tap into?
Yeah. I'll admit that I'm not good at this yet. I'm still trying to figure it out. Hence why I'm still up at 3 in the morning working. I've hired these assistants. Shoney has just, when I meet with him and talk to him about his processes with his virtual assistants, it's incredible what they all do. I'm still, they kind of are sitting on their hands and asking me like, all right, like, do you want me to do it today? In my head, I'm like, shoot, I don't know what to give you. Because I do like to control my whole business and do it all myself. So,
are you okay if I coach you?
Yeah.
A session?
Yeah.
I'm going to coach myself and all of us at the same time. So here's just what I've realized. And some of you may feel this, is that we often 99% of the time get stuck in the weeds of working in the business. And we neglect working what? On the business. Like it is just and it's not just real estate. It is most industries where you have business owners. We get stuck servicing our clients or servicing our business, and we don't allocate enough time to work on the business, right? So the one encouragement, because I know that I'm not just speaking to Mike, it's everybody in this room, including myself, is we have to make sure there's some sort of time block on our calendar to ask what systems would actually buy me back time in the future. Because it is about achieving more, but it's also about doing less. What I mean by that is how can you do more in less time, right? So when it comes to either virtual assistant support or setting up technology that will help you get your time back, it's a necessary evil to slow down right now, to put that time on your calendar and say, Friday afternoons, it's slow. My clients are hanging out. They're about to go on their family stuff and do things. So typically it's not as crazy. I'm going to spend that 2-hour segment every week to just implement some systems into my business so I can free myself up 3 months down the road. Does that make sense? So that's just one recommendation to think about. And I do want to just ask if there are any technology pieces that you use. Obviously, you're using Instagram, you're using this Screen Zen. Are there any other tools, either spreadsheets or CRMs that you're using for your business?
Yeah, good question. I do have, and this is what I learned from my boss and at Cushman & Wakefield in Los Angeles, where he would have an Excel doc and he'd have everyone he's working with. So I have an Excel doc where I have everyone I'm working with, and then I have due diligence timeframes, financing appraisal timeframes, settlements. I have it all laid out. So each morning when I sit down at my desk, I go through this and think, okay, what do I need to do to further push these clients to get across the finish line? Because as we know, so many deals fall through or fall out of contract for stupid things. So I'm just trying to think, okay, how can I mitigate there being issues? I really follow my gut on if I get an impression like, okay, this person might be thinking this. It's crazy how many times it just happens to be true. I have no idea how, but following your gut on that. What else? What other processors? Thought I had something else in mind, but mostly that to keep track on. So something organized. And I was gonna say, I love setting up alerts on the MLS. If someone calls me and says, "Yeah, I'm looking for multifamily property," just send me ones that come when they come available. I set up the alert on the MLS. I have like 7 clients that as soon as a multifamily property hits the market in Utah County, I get 7 different emails from all my clients that I know want a multifamily property. So then I look at that and I think, okay, is this a good fit for John? And then if it is, then I'll copy and paste it, send it to him, run some numbers for him. And if anything, it's just a touch point, even if it's not a good deal. Just if I feel like I haven't talked to this guy in a month or so, I'll say, hey man, this is the first 4-plex I've seen hit the market in Utah County. This is it. It's ridiculously priced. It's probably $125,000 above what it should actually sell for. I'm just sending this for reference. So when one does come around, you'll see how good of a deal it actually is, because it actually makes sense. Cool things like that. So, so the MLS alerts, I think, is really key, just so you can remind, you really stay on top of mind, like who is wanting what, and just those touch points. Yeah. Yeah, good question. I like sending them up just to myself. And that's another one of those annoying things that like I intentionally do it because I want to have that touch point with my client. I know I can set it up just to go to them. And yeah, maybe I could have this subject line saying, from Mike Gooch or something. But I would just love to always have a text convo with them and just them seeing that kind of Marriott hotel experience or just hands-on. So not saying one's better than the other, is a lot of work for me to constantly do it myself. So I don't know if it's good use of my time, but I'm kind of stubborn and going with it.
Yeah. Well, I think the funny thing is, if we were to boil down like one success metric, as we've had many conversations, the one thing I've realized that has caused you to be successful is you're having conversations 24/7, essentially, right? Like you're just constantly communicating with your clients, whether it be through social media, through email, through text.
Yeah.
And I think that's like, if we strip everything down in our industry is of how do we get more business, it's just simply have more conversations. Like that's the simple lead metric.
Sure.
So maybe if you can just talk about the market has shifted the last couple of years. So what has been your conversation framework with clients, right? Like right now, we have clients who might think that interest rates are high, right? And that throws off affordability to an extent. And so maybe what are the conversations you're having with your clients to help them feel comfortable moving forward?
Yeah. I had a good conversation with one yesterday. I think it's really important that we don't come off as salespeople, but as genuine friends and advisors to these people. I like to consider myself a real estate advisor than a real estate agent. It's probably stupid, but at least in my head, that makes sense for me. And to gain someone's trust, you almost have to trick them into not expecting to get the answer that they're expecting to get from you, aka another salesman. Or like if a client will reach out to me and ask me if they think it's a good time to, um, you know, buy a property to fix and flip, and then telling me, I'm reading these reports and it's saying that interest rates are for sure going to go down in the next year or two. Like, this means I should just buy this property and just do it. The weaker person, I feel like, would say, yeah, man, like, let's get this deal done. You're so right. Interest rates are going to be low. And in turn, I tell them, like, look, dude, for the past 3 years, they've been telling us interest rates are going to come down exponentially. If we listen to what Jamie Dimon and the experts were saying 3 years ago, today we should be at like a 3 to 4% interest rate right now from what they were projecting 3 years ago. So I really don't want you to think rates were for sure going to be down and banking on that. We have to be a little bit more cautious of how we perceive this. And by telling him something he doesn't expect to hear, and more of a conservative approach to buying real estate instead of him just thinking you're just trying to get a commission, I think that solidifies his trust in your advice, knowing, okay, Gooch isn't just always trying to sell. He's telling me to pump the brakes, and sometimes when it's not a wise decision. Trying to think that I kind of went on a tangent on that one.
No, that's great, because
Can't remember where
it's
it
just what
started.
conversations you're having around your clients to help them feel comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is the reality of knowing what is your client's situation, right? Which is what you're hitting on too, is like, you need to, I love the idea of we need to be a student of the market. Hopefully that's what you've caught from today's conversation, is that Mike understands what's happening, not only in the real estate market, but the markets that impact the real estate market, the mortgage market, right? And so, but we can have conversations that are upfront and honest, and it might make some clients say, yeah, maybe right now is not the best time for me, right, to buy. But then there's other clients who say, great, I appreciate that information. That's super helpful. And how can we find a way? What's the solution forward, right? So I'm curious about maybe what are some of those solutions that you bring to the table for buyers, for sellers? Do you have sellers who are on the fence saying, I don't know if we want to sell our home right now with this low interest rate that we have locked in on this property and go subscribe to another higher interest rate? Or buyers who say, I don't know if I want to pay X amount, right, when my current mortgage or current rent is X amount. So what do those kind of conversations look like for you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure we get a lot of people saying, they're in that limbo where they have a low interest rate and they want to buy another home. I tell them, because they'll ask me to sell it for them, like, guys, I really like, if it's at all possible, try to keep that home and not sell it with a low interest rate, because you'll just be so amped 30 years from now when it's paid off at 3% interest rate. And I'll say, Warren Buffett said the United States mortgage is the best financial tool on earth. The fact that you can borrow 75 to 95% of money at a 5% or so interest rate, 7%, is insane that you can't get anywhere else. So I just tell them it's such a rare thing to have such a low interest rate. Don't try, if possible, not to give that up. Keep that as a rental property, and then buy another property if possible. So that's one conversation I'll have. That's tough, maybe not what they were expecting. And yeah, sure, sometimes you do have to sell. And then I'll coach them. Okay, well, how do we leverage your low interest rate to make it so you can actually sell in this very tough market? There's something called seller financing, and let me coach you through it, where we can sell your home probably at a 10 to 20% premium of what it would sell for today, have a 3% or 3-year term on it, where it, you'll get the bulk of your money in 3 years. This way you can sell your home for more, but at least get it off your plate, get your down payment out so you can use that money to then buy another home. So I'll kind of coach them through certain avenues to still make it work. But yeah, just being, I guess, proficient and confident in those conversations where you can be that advisor on those scenarios.
Yeah.
Because seller financing has been incredible. Like I've sold probably 10-ish homes or multifamily properties in the past year just by leveraging seller financing. And it's really not as scary as we think. Like the seller has nothing to worry about. Like I sold 4 or 5 fourplexes for a client who has a 3-ish% interest rate on them. if the buyer defaults, God forbid, defaults on it in 2 years, the seller gets to keep this 25% down that he has now used and allocated towards whatever he wanted to do. Then the seller gets to recapture that property and then either keeps it or rents and repeats with the same interest rate that he has. And then if the bank were to find out that he seller finances someone, it's on the buyer to get a loan, a 30-year loan, and put it into their name. It's not the seller's obligation. So I just tell my sellers, like, you have really nothing to lose. As long as you vet this buyer and they give you 25% down, that they're not some meth threat or something that's going to default and destroy the place, you really have nothing to worry about. So yeah, it's being confident in those questions.
Yeah, love it. How many of you would like to become very aware of how to manage and operate with seller financing? We didn't talk about this beforehand, but we have John Lish and Burgundy Lowe coming in on the last Tuesday of this month. It's going to be during team meeting, so during this 11 a.m. session, and we're going to do a deep dive. It's CE certified as well, and it's going to be specifically on seller financing. How do you put those deals together? How do you explain it to your clients? John Lish is an attorney for a Real Advantage title, so he's well equipped to have that conversation and help you understand how the behind the scenes works. So definitely put that on your calendar if you want to know more about that. Well, like I know we've gone through quite a bit. I want to jump to just a few things before if you're cool with it, ask the audience if anybody wants to throw out a random question or two.
Sure.
So maybe just congratulations, you brought on a big client that you're servicing, right? Yeah. You want to make that announcement? I kind of just made it, but
no, I mean, it's not Fieldstone's Travis back there, but Salisbury Homes, they're the leader in South Utah County, Spanish Fork, Mapleton, and San Quinn. They've been around for about 30 years. So I'm being the team lead for that, where I'm not selling the homes directly, but coaching the agents that they currently have and bringing on others to run point on their properties, just to help them sell more in tough market.
Awesome. And I think you guys just negotiated. You went from what, 1%? Not really.
Yeah,
you increased.
3%. So
that's a huge win. That's great, right?
I'm amped on that because they're just kind of stuck in the past. And I told them, look, if we agents are our best friends, this is the only way we're going to get out of this tougher market, because compensating our agents well. And thankfully they swallowed that hook. So we'll make it that easiest 3% you've ever made. Bring your clients to Salisbury. Those agents will handle everything from there and give you guys your 3%.
Awesome. So if you can, just in closing, if you could only do 2 things every day to keep business flowing, what are those 2 things that you would do?
Yeah, 2 things is just always have your phone charged up and being ready to respond immediately. We're only as valuable as we are quick in responding and giving good advice and hope. I know we like to think that we're not replaceable, and I just know that I'm just 30-minute delay or an hour delay to responding or calling someone back, for that guy being antsy and just hitting up someone else for a question about property. And then what in his head, like I had this for a client, drives me freaking nuts, but I'm helping him sell his home, and they're going to buy a property, and they just, I think I was out of town that one weekend, which is why I hate going out of town. But they hit up a Zillow agent to go see this one property. And out of loyalty, because they fell in love with that girl, they're now using me to sell their home, for her to buy the home. And then my hand's like, I'm such an idiot for somehow letting that slip through the cracks. So to answer your question, 2 things is just being so responsive when it comes to calls and texts. I know it's very inconvenient sometimes. You're at dinner and a client calls you. Just step aside and take the call, and just try to always be that person that's readily available. And second thing, not to be a dead horse, but Instagram really is huge for me. And that's my demographic. If you have a few more years on me, maybe Facebook is where your sphere of influence is, right?
MySpace for a few.
Yeah. It's Gooch _ real estate, Gooch real estate. Or if it's TikTok, maybe you're a few years younger than me. I'm not on TikTok. I'm not cool enough to be on TikTok. But maybe that's where your sphere of influence is, or Snapchat. I don't think there's any Snapchat people on here. Free like 20 years younger than me, I think. But those two things, social media is so big just because you can, in such a short amount of time, it's just a beautiful thing. It's non-intrusive. You're not like bugging them by calling them and just saying, hey man, how's it going? I just wanted to catch up with you, which I don't think is a bad idea. You can just message them on Instagram, scroll in and just say, hey man, I just saw you had your first child. So amped for you. You look adorable. Or congratulations. Then on top of that, send them, like I do this all the time for my clients, where I'll drop off diapers. Like I'll do like two boxes of diapers and then like a ridiculous amount of Red Bull. I've tons of them. But I'll get like 4 cases of Red Bull. And it's different for each client depending on how wealthy you are, unfortunately. But I'll do like, if it's a client that's looking for a $2 million home, just 6 months ago, I put 2 boxes of diapers and then like 6 or 7 Red Bull cases on their doorstep. They were not expecting it. I just take a photo, send it to them, and say, hey, congrats on the baby. I'm so stoked for you. And just little things like that should solidify you. But if I wasn't on Instagram, I would have never known you had a child. So I think you can give yourself the excuse to spend time on Instagram if it's productive. So,
Love it.
sorry, son.
So that here's
Yeah, I don't like calling, and maybe that's just me. I don't mind clients calling me, but it almost is inconvenient every single time they call me because I'm doing something else. So unless I have a purpose on why I'm calling, I feel like it's kind of just like awkward. So yeah, I prefer texting. It could just be something so simple. Something cool that I think you guys should implement that I haven't yet is sending audio text messages where you just send it like, hey Mary, just thinking about you, was back home, back in our hometown this past weekend, drove by your house. I hope you're doing well. Just wanted to reach out. And nothing confrontational or nothing like you're trying to get them to buy a home from you. And then closing on this is I almost go out of my way not to talk about real estate with my friends. Like if my friends hit me up to go golfing, I will hold off as long as possible not to talk about real estate and won't ever talk about it unless they ask me, hey man, how's real estate going? It looks like it's been kind of a wild market recently. And then I'll get into it. I just never want my friends to think I'm trying to pimp them and get business out of them. And in return, I feel like it comes over and just in folds and droves because they see that I'm first a friend, a genuine friend of theirs, which is true. And then the byproduct is them wanting to work with me. So
yeah, I love it. It's relationship driven. You're focused on building deep, meaningful relationships. Real estate just ends up happening as a byproduct, right?
exactly, love that.
That's great. We have maybe time for 1, possibly 2 questions. Maybe I want to throw a question out.
points that just about the book.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Yeah, if you have the time to do, I think it has to be personalized where it's like either you're handwriting them or having it professionally handwritten by a machine or something to yours, or at least showing that it's unique. I just think I don't want to say it's counterintuitive, but it just doesn't have that personal touch if it's a mass email, or you can tell it's just like, hey friend, and then where they think, did she actually need to send this just to me or just going to like 300 other people? So the personal touch, I think that's brilliant. Postcards is a great idea.
One person reached out to each one and asked them if I could be in the mailbox.
Cool. Yeah, he's awesome. And then other things I do, I guess this is kind of buying friendships, and maybe this is weird, but like for all my clients, I need to be better at it. But when it comes to what have I done? Like Christmas time, I'll send them a handwritten postcard done by a machine, and then I'll put $50 in there. Or from my big clients, $100 bill. And that postcard gets mailed to them, or not postcard, but a letter gets mailed to them. Just say, hope you have an incredible Christmas. Hope you guys can have, nice, I don't know, peppermint ice cream. That's a terrible example. Peppermint ice cream. But it's something related to the season that gets them excited. I personally don't like doing gift cards because you have to pay like $7 to $8 or $10 for to get that gift card. And I don't know if they even care about Cabela's. I love Cabela's. I don't know if they care about Cabela's. But everyone's stoked on cash. You got $100 bill and a letter from your agent. This touching point. I think that's solidifies you a little bit more. So I think that's a great idea.
Jen, you got one?
Incredible. Yeah, so I'll have I was working my virtual assistant yesterday on refining my list, and I have about roughly 100 or so that I'm sending it to. A lot of repeat clients on properties. I try not to think about the money. I don't know if I even count how much money I'm giving out. I do in a way because I want to offset it for taxes if that's even possible, unless you pay my frontline in. I don't think you can write off a certain amount for cash gifts. But the mindset is you have to shift from what money am I spending today? Like forget about the money you're spending today and just know that it'll pay its dividends in the future. And like maybe that person you just sent $100 bill for will never buy another thing from you again, but they're going to talk you up to 5 other friends on how awesome of agent you are, and then you'll help them out. That's easier said than done not to think about the money, but it just helps me have the ignorance bliss from that on that front.
Another perspective just on that, we get to that last question, is like think about the return on your investment as well. Like even if it's $100 at 100 people, 10 grand, are you likely to get one person buying a home from you in the next year, right? And as you said, you don't do Facebook ads and Instagram ads and stuff like that. So you should be, that's one thing that a lot of people don't do is they don't actually invest enough marketing dollars into their business. And that's just your way of marketing, essentially. With what it is.
Right. It's ad spend. Like either go on social media and pay $1,000 to reach. The crazy thing about social media ads, I don't know if you guys know this, but because of fair housing laws, you can't really do specific areas, at least on Instagram. It just goes to everywhere. So I'm getting people in Atlanta liking my home that I will never associate with. So in my head, I'd rather spend that $500 I would have boosted my Instagram ad to instead send $20 to all my clients randomly in a handwritten letter to them. So ad spend, you're exactly right. That's how it's viewed.
Great. Last question.
Yeah, I'm scrambling to find a better process now. I had a relative that had a handwriting machine, so I'd hand it to him. Then I would pay him also to go to his bank and pull out $2,000-$3,000 or whatever, and then take that cash and include it as part of the service. And it's a strategy because then my bill is $4,000 for easy numbers for my advertising, and then I write that off with my accountant instead of it being a $500 fee, and I'm paying cash that I can't write off on. So it isn't art. We have to be really good with our spending and offsetting our taxes and things like that. I try to get really good with that. Use of time is huge because you probably have beautiful handwriting. Mine looks so terrible that I would never dare. Yeah. 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 Exactly. Find someone that could do it that way. I used to do it 4 times a year when I had my cousin doing it. Now I have to find another process because I can't pay some dude in Wisconsin to do and mail the letters. There's no way he's going to take like $50 and put it in thing, nor will I trust him that he actually does it, right? Like, letters go out. Here's $50 for Christmas. And the client's like, wait, where's the 50? That weasel took it, but I didn't know until 2 months later. So yeah, if you find someone, let me know. And I'll let you know if I find a very good company.
Awesome. Well, I hope that you all have some valuable insight from today. I think this is a masterclass when it comes to just understanding how do we invest into relationships. That's the ultimate takeaway that I got. So Mike, thank you for your time. We appreciate you coming in today.
Thank you.
Give him a hand.
Thank you all.
Awesome. Thank you, Stone. Enjoy lunch, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.